Look at it. It's so... ugh. But then, we got this! Huh? Huh? Welcome back to another video from SlideCow. My name is Yo-Yo and I'm here to make your slides amazing. If you tuned in last week, we were covering how we can up your bar chart game in PowerPoint. If you haven't seen that video, you can find it at the bottom right hand of the screen, right there. Following on that trend, this week we are going to discuss how we can take a boring old pie chart and turn it into something amazing. But Yo-Yo, when should we use charts in PowerPoint? Great question, Greg. The creepy cliche cartoon character that asks questions relevant to subject matter in order for me to demonstrate my point further. Ish. Only use pie charts when you are comparing parts of a whole. I'll say that again because it's important. Only use pie charts when you are comparing parts of a whole. To demonstrate, consider this slide as an example. Alright? The whole, in this case, is actually the total revenue for 2017, which turns out to be 18.3 million, as you can see over there. Alright, so what's an example of a part of that whole? Well, it's these four things here. The quarters. The quarters make up the whole. So, for example, one part could be the first quarter, which is 29% of 18.3, which turns out to be $5.4 million. This video has a lot in it, so stick with me and I promise you, you'll love your results. You're going to be so happy with them, you won't believe that you were that good at PowerPoint. I've activated my on-screen keys at the bottom left of my screen, as you can see here, so feel free to follow along as long as you need. Alrighty, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the slide and we are going to delete all of the content because we are starting from scratch. Now what you want to do is you want to go into Excel and make sure you have all your data ready to go. Highlight the data that you want to turn into a pie chart. Make sure that you don't have the total because remember we're focusing on the parts of the whole rather than the whole itself. Then you're going to click on Insert, you're going to click on Recommended Charts, All Charts, Pie, and then there's one chart here that's an important chart to know, and that is called Donut. It's not a pie anymore, it's a donut. Why am I using the donut? Because the donut has all this white space in the middle that we can take advantage of to make our slide look crisp, sleek, and modern. So once you have your donut or your pie chart or whatever you'd like to call it, just go back into PowerPoint, copy that donut or pie chart, I'm just going to call it a pie chart from now on, and paste it in here. Just adjust the size however you'd like. Delete the title, delete the legend. And I'll show you why I did both of those things in a second, okay? Now, I want you to do something. I want you to right click on the, let's say I'm gonna call these parts now. So right click on the part and then click on add data labels and then add data labels again. It's gonna make it smaller, which is absolutely fine. The second thing you wanna do as well is you wanna right click on the parts again. So make sure you have all of them selected and then click on format data series. On the right here, you want to change the donut hole size to 67%. That will make it a bit thicker, which makes it a bit more, let's say, clear to your audience's eye. So, we have all this set in stone right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get the pointers, which are basically these black shapes right here. These black shapes are actually my favorite kind of pointers. However, you don't need to use them. If you're okay with using lines or triangles or whatever you want, that's fine. But if you want to stick and get that extra edge on your PowerPoint presentations, then please follow me along. This shape doesn't exist in PowerPoint. We're going to have to make it. Just click on Insert, click on Shapes, and then make a rectangle. Okay? Make sure that rectangle is tall and thin. Also make sure it doesn't have an outline. Zoom into that rectangle and make it as thin as possible. Once you hit maximum thinness using your cursor, just moving it left and right, whatever, just hold down Shift and then press the left key to make it thinner, like I'm doing right now. Also just make it a bit shorter, that's a bit too long. Like this, alright? Now with this element highlighted, what you're going to do is you're going to make a duplicate of it by holding Control, Shift, and moving it upwards. This way you have two separate shapes just stacked on one another. Right click the top shape and click on size and position. On the right side here, you're going to see something called rotation. Set that to 45 degrees. Move this line just so it overlaps the other line like this. No, just a bit more, I think. Go to the left. Yep, that's fine. So now you have two of these lines here forming a bit of a triangle but without the base. So it's more like an obtuse angle sort of thing. What we're going to do now is we're going to highlight both of them and pressing Ctrl G to group them up. That will make it easier to select. You're going to insert a circle by going to Insert Shapes and then going to a circle. You're going to draw whatever. Click on Format and then just change this to 0.1 and 0.1. As always, make sure it does not have an outline and move it on the top part here. Highlight all of the shapes that you see, press Ctrl G to group them up again, change it to black, the color I mean, by going to Format, Shape Fill and making it black, and there you go. There's our pointer. We don't need you anymore, good sir, goodbye. We're going to be using the pointers you just made at a later stage, but for right now what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the data labels that we have here, make sure you have all of them selected, right click on them and click on Format Data Labels. On the right side here you're going to see some options. Okay, this is the ones I choose, but feel free to choose whichever ones you'd like. First of all, disable show leader lines. Click on value, which if you don't already have it unchecked, obviously. Click on category name to show you which quarter we're talking about, and then click on percentage to highlight the percentage of that quarter. One more thing you might want to add, although again it's up to you. I tend to use my separators to be a new line. Like so. So that way every single separator is one line. So we have fourth quarter, new line, 1.2 million, new line, 7%. Once you have all of those selected, what you want to do now is you want to move each of these data labels upwards into the white space that you have here. Feel free to be creative however you'd like. I'm just going to speed up the video now just to show you what I mean. So now that you have your data labels where you want them, it's time for us to edit them. This is probably the most frustrating part for me because each and every data box has to be edited for the most part if you want to get technical on an individual basis. Therefore, if you have 6+ data labels, then I strongly urge you not to follow this technique and instead go for a standard technique, which is basically clicking on all of them at the same time and then just pressing bold or changing the font or increasing the size or whatever. But if you want, for the purpose of this video, to show you what you can do with PowerPoint, then please just follow along. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight on all the data labels by clicking on one data label without the graph being selected. Therefore, when you see your squares highlighted on all the data labels like so, it means all of them are selected. I'm going to change the font to my favorite font, which is Pantone Black Caps. Again, shout out to the guy who made that. Honestly, what a great font. So now, what we are going to do is we are going to move the percentages, okay, upwards one line and then put them in brackets. Again, you have to do this on an individual basis, like I'm going to show you right now. Backspace, space, put them in brackets like so. Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to do this for all the data labels now, and I'm just going to speed up the video. The second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch out each data label that has more than one line for the category. So here, for example, you see fourth, and then one line, and then quarter on the other line. You're going to have to spread them out like so. So you're just going to have to grab onto it like this, and then just drag it out like that. And I'm going to do that for all of them. Like that. Now what I want to do is that I want to add a bit more color to my data labels. What I specifically want to do is I want to make the quarters one color and make the data another color, which makes it a lot more visually appealing. So I'm going to do it for one text box here. But before I do that, I'm just going to bring in my color box here and I'll show you why I'm bringing it in. These are the colors I'm going to use for the graph as well as for other elements on the slide. And I'm going to show you how you can take advantage of any of this in just a bit. So the first thing is I'm going to click on the fourth quarter here. Make sure you have only one of them selected, not all four. So just make sure that you double click it. When you have that one box selected here, that means you're focusing on that one data label there. Alright, so here I'm going to make the data this bright red color. So I'm going to highlight the bottom part here and then click on the font color, change their thing here, and then click on eyedropper and then do that there. And then there you go. Okay, I'm going to do that for all of them. Okay, it already looks a lot better. So the goal right now is for us to use this pointer tool that we made before onto our pie chart right there. But before we do that, just bear with me for 1 second. Click on home with the pointer tool selected and then click on select and then click on selection pane. Now please listen, the selection pane is actually a fantastic tool to use in PowerPoint, but we'll go over the details of that in another video. For right now, what I want to make clear to you is that you can identify your elements on your slide, okay, using the selection pane right here. In my case, this little thing, this little group right here, that pointer tab, is called group 4. I'm going to rename it to pointer, and I think you should too, and I'll show you why that's the case. I'm going to move this pointer into the graph here. I'm going to adapt that pointer to the graph however I see fit. So for example, I'm going to click on arrange with the pointer still selected, click on rotate, and then click on flip horizontal. And then I'm going to move my data label to the right here. I'm going to right click this and click on send to back. There you can see that it's pointing towards the data, which is fine. However, if I want to select it, I can't now. Do you see what I'm trying to tell you? That is exactly why I told you, please rename it to pointer in the selection pane tab, because when you click on this again, we have it selected one more time. And you can make equal duplicates and just do the same thing for all the other data labels, which I'm going to do right now with a video speed up. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the hard part is done. Now it's just cruise control. We're just going to change the color of the different segments or parts of the pie chart, like so. We're just going to highlight each and every single one by double clicking it to make sure that we're just selecting one. So in my case right here, click on format, click on shape fill, and then click on the eyedropper, or change it to whatever color you'd like, but because I want to use a specific yellow, as you can see here, I'm just going to click on that. Okay, but remember you can change it to any color you'd like, and I'm going to do that for all of them. The next step is for us to get an icon right into the middle of our donut here. That's the only reason why we picked the donut in the first place. You might be asking, why are we doing this? Well, truthfully, that icon is going to represent what that total chart is. So if I look at that and see the dollar bill, I know they're going to be talking about money in the rest of the chart. So do you see what I mean? You might be asking, how can I get an icon into my PowerPoint slide? How do I get an icon that looks like that in my PowerPoint slide? Luckily for you, we covered that in a previous video, and it's in the bottom right. So watch it. It's great. It's full of 3 techniques. It's awesome. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to be using this one right here, and I'm just going to be copy pasting it from another slide to speed things up. And I'm just going to be placing it just a bit above the top, and the reason why is we're going to put a text box at the bottom here. So let's do that now. We're going to put a text box here, and we are going to put that over there, and I'm just going to call this like we did before, which is total revenue. Okay, and at the bottom here, I'm just going to put 18.3 million, because that is the total of, all the sum of all these parts, right? It is the whole. Do you remember we were talking about the parts in the whole? This is the whole now. We're focusing on the whole. So I'm just going to center that in the middle and just put 1.m where it might be. And again, we are changing our font to Pantone black caps. We're just going to reduce the size of the total revenue part here up until, let's say, 12. 12 looks good, I think. Well, I'll make it 13 actually. And then we're going to also change the color of the 18.3 here into the color of the icon that we have there by clicking on the text color thing here under the home tab, an eyedropper, and there you go. So automatically now you can associate that 18.3 million is represented by this entire pie chart. Alrighty, so the pie chart's almost done, but we're missing one crucial thing, which is the title. Alright, Normally, I like to use shapes for my titles, especially like a rectangle or something, because it brings it out more. You can do your text if you want, but I'm just going to be using a box. So for my box, I'm going to be clicking on shapes, rectangle, and just making a box over here, right in the middle. And I'm going to make sure it doesn't have an outline. I'm going to change that color, and I'm going to remember. The thing is, I see a lot of analysts or a lot of junior level employees getting this wrong. The title is supposed to always reflect the pie chart. In every single circumstance, just make it easy for your client. Always make it easy for your client. Just be direct with it. So for me, it's going to be revenue per quarter for 2017, and then in brackets I'm going to put percentages, because therefore they can automatically associate the percentage to the revenue, as you can see in that data label, sorry, right there. So I'm going to change the font to this to Pantone black caps, and I'm going to put this down to 12, and yeah, that looks fine actually. Okay, so the data is finally completed. What we're going to focus on now is getting the commentary, which is going to be on the right side of the slide. The reason why we're going to be focusing on commentary in particular in this video is because commentary is something that a lot of people, and especially a lot of analysts for some reason, tend to overlook. You need to make your commentary look good. You need to make your analysis look good, because depending on who your audience is, whether it's your client, your colleague, or your boss, it is up to them how they want to perceive your data. To make it easy for them to perceive it is key to you being an awesome analyst or an awesome white collar professional or an awesome student or an awesome whatever. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click on insert. We're going to click on text box, and we're just going to make a box like so. I'm just going to call this commentary. Sorry. Commentary in caps here. Actually, there's no need to make caps, but whatever. And then it's just blah, blah, blah. And we're just going to do that. Make sure that the font size is 12 or whatever font size you'd like, and as always I'm going to be using Pantone black caps for this one, and I'm going to make sure that the rest is justified so that it sticks to the box however you know I'd like it. I'm going to highlight commentary and make sure that it follows a color code for the rest of the slide, like so. So now we have our commentary. Okay, so this first paragraph right here is going to be generally introducing the data. And what I mean by that is you're going to be basically bringing in summarized information. So for example, you could be saying in this paragraph over here, you know, total revenue was 18.3 million for the year. It was a good year. We launched our new product, which explains why we increased sales by 20% in comparison to last year, whatever it might be. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to dedicate the rest of the space over here to the other parts of the whole. So we have 4 parts to the whole, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on insert, shapes, and the rounded rectangle thing over here. Be sure it's the rounded rectangle, not the straight one. It's right next to the straight one. So you have a normal rectangle here, and you have the rectangle with rounded corners over here. Make something small but a bit tall, like something like this would be fine, I guess. Actually, just make that just a bit taller. Make sure it doesn't have an outline, and just bring in a text box next to it. I'm just going to bring in this one and just delete the title. And what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight both of these. Click on home, click on arrange, click on align, and then click on align middle to make sure that it's just perfectly in the middle, like so. Let me just bring that text box in over here. There we go. So we're going to highlight both and press Ctrl G to group them, and then we're just going to drag and drop it like this. And we're just going to highlight them all like that. Click on align, and then click on distribute vertically. Once you have it the way you'd like to have it, highlight all of them again and just press Ctrl Shift G to ungroup them. And the reason why is now we can easily edit the colors for each of these little blocks over here. So for example, I'm going to click on format, click on eyedropper here. When we talk about the first quarter, they can automatically recognize that this is associated to this, and then this would be associated to the second quarter. This would be associated to the third quarter, and this would be associated to the fourth quarter. Now, the analysis that goes into these little segments here is in specific to, sorry, RIP English. It's specifically catered towards that segment. So, for example, we could be talking about why was the first quarter 29% of the sales. 29% of the sales. You can say, well, we launched a new product that quarter, and that's why sales spiked at the beginning of the quarter. Blah 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 blah. Or you could be talking about, well, okay, why is the fourth quarter so low? You could say holiday sales were pretty down this year because of XYZ, whatever it might be. It gives your audience that acknowledgement of you relating the data to the segment. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in a key takeaways text box right here. So I'm just going to Control Shift and drag this over here and change this to key takeaways. So the key takeaways box, as you know, is important because it's basically the message that everyone is going to be looking for. So basically the key analysis. So what if you basically this paragraph is dedicated to, if I can just sum it up in one sentence, what do you want your audience to know? Okay, if they forget everything else on the slide, what do you want them to know? So it's basically your bullseye target analysis is dedicated to that part over there. We are done. It was a long video, I know, but I know also that oh my God, my English. I also know that you guys have learned a lot. It is phenomenal teaching you guys. You have no idea how much effort we're putting into this. It is almost a daily effort now because we really want to be the go-to brand for PowerPoint design and guides. We had messages coming in from partners of big consulting firms saying, I make it mandatory for my analysts to review your content because we wanted to make it look as good as you guys make it. So please guys, please support us. Please move it. You're joining your adventure. We love doing this with you guys. We actually have a surprise. If we were to hit 1,000 subscribers, we do have a giveaway coming up by then. It's not going to be something huge. We're still small, but it's a giveaway nonetheless. Thank you all for watching. We love you all. Be safe. Safe travels. Have a great day.